part of the thing with YouTube is you have about 15 to 20 seconds in the beginning where people decide whether or not they want to keep watching.
No pressure.
No pressure, but we need to be amazing for that 15 seconds.
Okay. I'm trying to think of like what I could do to make myself interesting in 15 seconds, and like even like my brain's just gone blank like that. You're not interesting at all. Put some tap shoes on.
Hey everyone, today I have Katy Howard here with me. She is all the way in, where are you, Katy? I'll just let you explain it.
I'm in Croydon, that's South London in the UK.
It's wonderful to have you here. Oh, you look great.
Oh, thank you. So do you. You have such lovely shiny hair.
Oh.
Do you know what? I think one of the nicest things, and it's such a ridiculous thing to say, but one of the nicest things about recovery is being able to wash your hair, and your hair just like being nice and clean. And like for me, like there were so many times where I was like, I can smell my hair, I haven't got the energy to wash my hair, and I feel disgusting, and it's just like it just adds to like the unhappiness of the situation. But yeah, just washing your hair is just such an amazing win. Like if I didn't have energy to brush it, then yeah, it just gets really tangled. It's like one great big dreadlock. So I just put it up in a bun, and it would literally just stay balanced up there for, you know, until I had the energy to kind of sort it out and try and make it pretty again. But yeah, it's not easy, is it?
No, it's not. You're right. It's crazy, the little things that we take for granted. Katy and I have been talking for months and months. We connected because of our mutual journeys with chronic fatigue syndrome, or ME, and we've talked a lot, but we talk a lot about what's happening in the moment or on any given day. But I was thinking when I was getting ready for this chat of ours today that I actually don't know a lot about what first happened with you and how this all kind of went down. So I'm really excited, even just for myself, to learn more about your story. So thank you so much for joining us. I'm really excited to hear about, of course, what's been working for you, because your progress from, at least this is what it's looked like from the outside, it seems like it's been really fast. For you, it might feel maybe kind of slow, but...
Since I started kind of making the changes to my diet and kind of calming my parasympathetic nervous system down, once I managed to kind of get my body into a good healing state, actually my recovery has, even to me, felt impressively fast. But then with that, because I'm not completely recovered, there are times where it feels frustratingly slow. I would, like to be 100% recovered tomorrow, but it's not going to happen. But I'm incredibly grateful for how much I have recovered, and it's really interesting for me to reflect on how I came to be ill. So I had glandular fever, as quite a lot, I think, of chronic fatigue syndrome sufferers. So that's how it starts, and that took me a good few months to recover from, and yeah, so there wasn't really a lot of medical guidance. Just, you have glandular fever, rest up, and normal life will continue. And then I, for the most part, got better physically. I found though that throughout life, I have, because I'm 43 now, so throughout life I just found that I would burn out more quickly than my friends and then my colleagues, as I started to work, but didn't really think anything of that. I just thought, I don't know, I just thought that I was just weaker. I think I probably put it down to being weaker than other people. And I'd know that whenever I would start to get run down, my glands would like pop up, that's still, the first indication that something's wrong. And then I guess more recently, so within the last 10 years, when I've been to the doctors to say I don't feel well, they of course run blood tests, and it's like, nope, you're fine. There's nothing wrong with you. Just a virus. You're fine. There's no reason for you to not be at work. You'll be fine. Go back to work. And so I always felt this real confusion over like, well, I definitely don't feel well. I'm not trying to get out of being at work. I want to be at work. But, even within this, like, I have a very, very busy life and work life, and I played roller derby, so a competitive contact sport. Loved being, part of a team, loved that competitiveness. And yeah, so it was, even though I was always not feeling 100%, I just thought that was normal for me. I don't know, I knew it wasn't really normal for everybody else, but it was my normal. And eventually those periods of unwellness got so severe that it was beyond obvious that there was a deeper issue. It just started to get harder and harder to work, to play roller derby. So obviously roller derby was the first thing to go, because that was a hobby, and it was probably 2 years after I'd stopped playing roller derby that eventually my cognitive function was just at a point where I was unable to work anymore, because no matter what I did, no matter how much rest I got in between working, I just couldn't string sentences together in my head, and I just found work so challenging, really tough.
Wow, I didn't realize that this had been going on for you for so long.
Yeah, I think I've just been trying to just kind of dust it under a carpet almost. Just be like, if I'm resilient, I can, positive mental attitude, and because the doctors kept telling me that there was nothing wrong with me, and so therefore I just thought, God, I'm just, I just need to try harder. And of course, trying harder was like the absolute opposite of what would have been helpful and healthy for me. It took me a really long time to acknowledge that I was as ill as I was. When you've always worked, and I'm 43, so I've been at work for a long time, and then suddenly kind of thinking, I'm really unwell. I don't really have the energy to do this. Well, what is that? What are your options? You can't just go, okay, I'll just stop this for a bit. Bills continue to to need to be paid, and unfortunately I don't have a tremendous wealth. So it was really frightening. So even once I had stopped working, I was still very much kind of looking to get back to work and full time. So my reality was that I would be in bed, literally living my life in bed, eating all my meals in bed. Like anything that I needed to do, it was done from bed. If I had to stand up, it just didn't happen, except for that I was applying for jobs, as I say, all in bed. And then if I had interviews to go to, it would literally take everything I could to get there and not crash before or during the interview, but I'd be crashing by the time I was on my way home. And that was a guarantee. I just knew that was the situation. That was tough. It was really tough.
I would imagine this might sound strange to some people, but to be so sick that you can barely stand up, but yet you're applying for jobs. So let's say you get the job. What were you thinking? How that was
I mean, I don't know. I think I really was kind of living in a fantasy land where if I was offered the job that, because that's what I wanted, that's like my body would just follow suit. If that's what my brain wants and my brain wants to do it, then I can do it. And then I had to move house. That was a real big wake up call. Yeah, to actually how ill I was, because the crash that I had after moving house was so significant that I realised that I had been kidding myself for a long time. And I think I'd just been focused on, I want my health, I want my health, I want my health. I don't want this illness. And I needed to accept the illness. And it really did take me a long time to do that, a really long time.
I think that's so important what you just said, that acceptance. And I think I thought had a lot of faith in like mind over matter. Like if I
Yeah.
just want it bad enough, if I'm determined enough, like I will find a way. I'll figure it out, and my body will just have to keep up.
One of the things that I Googled were celebrities that had chronic fatigue syndrome, and Cher and Stevie Nicks, both have had chronic fatigue syndrome. And I thought, well, they're getting up and performing, so they're amazing. So I should be able to do this too.
But that's so true. I think that's how so many of us get stuck, because we push, and we think I have to do these things and mind over matter. And with this illness specifically, it seems like that's one of the things that keeps setting you back and making you worse and worse and worse.
I mean, it's hard to not compare yourself in everyday life, but when you are really trying to find a recovery path, and there isn't a lot of medical guidance, of course you have to compare yourself, like, what are they doing over there, is it working? Because the other choice is to sit and be like, I'll just sit here and wait until I get better. And this condition, it requires you to be as mentally resilient as it does physically resilient. I truly believe that. The more frustrated and anxious or depressed that you are about your state, your body isn't in a healing state. So, that's a huge part of it.
So it was getting worse. It sounds like significantly worse. You had to quit your social activities. You had to quit your job. You're stuck mostly in bed. What was happening with doctors or diagnosis or treatment, or if anything?
So I was diagnosed in 2017. I think it's 2017, with like a reignition of glandular fever. When I was diagnosed with glandular fever, the doctor who I saw, who I never saw again, he said, I watched a documentary about a sports person who got glandular fever, and he had this wonderful kind of multi-million-dollar career, and it was wrecked by glandular fever. So it's really important for me to take care of you while you have glandular fever. And I thought, you're making a big fuss out of nothing. Like, I'll be fine in 3 weeks. I'll be back at work again. And I thought, what a compassionate, kind doctor. But I just thought, well, it can't be that bad. And every doctor after that seemed to be very focused on depression or anxiety. And then as things got worse and worse, a panic disorder, which I probably had a panic disorder by that point, because I felt so out of control, and I wasn't getting the diagnosis or the support that I helped. I was getting misunderstood and getting prescriptions for antidepressants, which made no difference. And actually, because of the way that my body responded to the chemical compounds, would trigger my ME, or chronic fatigue syndrome. It would trigger crashes, because my body just couldn't handle that kind of first 2 weeks with antidepressants. So I was just in a state. It was only once I started to really self-advocate at the doctors, where I had made a list of what I wanted to talk about, and I had practiced it the night before. So it was almost like I was doing a presentation for a doctor. And I think I got to a point where my mental health was bad and I was desperate and thinking some very, very dark thoughts. And I thought, oh my God, I have to go to the doctors and I have to address this mental health aspect, because I know this isn't making me any better. But I absolutely have got to have this diagnosis. So, like any diagnosis, it's not like I wanted to have chronic fatigue syndrome, but I did want to have some understanding, some kind of recognition of what it was that I was suffering with. When I would I'd go to the doctors, and then I'd get that kind of condescending, like, oh, we haven't ruled depression out yet, and that would just like clear my mind of all the useful things that I could have told them, and I would just get so upset and so angry. And I would never externalize the anger. The only thing that the doctor would have seen was somebody who was not in control of their emotions, somebody, who's they're wagging their fingers saying, well, we haven't ruled out depression. And I look depressed because I'm crying my eyes out and I can't get my words out. Yes, by this point I knew that the recovery rate was like 5%, so 95% of people don't recover, and that is very frightening. It's a very frightening prognosis, that. And I am very passionate about believe the diagnosis but don't believe the prognosis, because the body is capable of amazing things, and we are able to influence our own health so much more than the medical profession would have us believe, I guess. I don't want to sound too kind of hippy dippy, but I think there is so much that needs to catch up in science. There's so much that can work that isn't necessarily kind of proven yet. You just got to keep believing it's possible.
Thank you to everyone who's watching for your patience with our audio right now and the display. I'm in California and there's a lot of wildfires happening right now, and I suspect it's impacting our internet. So Katy and I have been trying really hard to get a clear picture, but thank you for your patience when it breaks up a bit. Yeah, that scary statistic, that devastating statistic is floating around, and a lot of us hear it, this 95% never recover, which sounds so hopeless. And there's a lot of debate and skepticism over the validity of that stat, where it's coming from, how they came up with it, how accurate it is. Especially since now that I've been sharing my full recovery story, I have lots of people either reaching out to me or I'm reaching out to them. And I mean, none of us are being surveyed or counted. A lot of us are doing it on our own. I'm not advocating abandoning doctors or doing this on your own, but a lot of people do it on their own. So these stats might just be coming from doctors' clinics surveying their patients, how many of their patients have a full recovery, when it might just be the effectiveness of their treatment protocol, not the actual prognosis of this illness as a whole, because a lot of people are fully recovering. And it's such a dangerous stat to put out there, because I come across a lot of people that don't even believe that recovery is possible.
You have to be open to recovering. It's not a mental illness, but I do think psychology has a huge amount to do with our health.
So what sorts of things did you start doing? Where did your recovery program come from? Was it something that the doctor dictated, or did you come up with it? And of course, we all want to know what kinds of things have been helping you to get to this place of where you are so far in your recovery.
I I am like it's my proudest work, my recovery, because it hasn't come from the doctors. So the first major change was that a friend of mine had been telling me about how fantastic lion's mane, which is lion's mane is a type of mushroom, and when it's used as a supplement, it can be really good for brain function, kind of repairing nerve damage in the brain. It crosses the blood-brain barrier, or the brain-blood barrier. I can never remember which way is which. And so he'd been telling me about this for a while, and of course I have a budget because I'm not working, and eventually he sent me some, actually, for like as a Christmas present. It's like, it's not very exciting Christmas present, but here you are. And I started taking it just after Christmas, and within 2 weeks my brain function was unlike anything it had been in the last 2 years. So I have previously likened it to in Wizard of Oz, where it goes from being black and white to, Dorothy's in Munchkinland, and it's all kind of brightly technicolor. That's what it felt like in my brain. But suddenly I was able to read books, and I was able to do some good quality research into, like, what are people doing to recover from ME. And that's where I kind of found your book, Raelan, and so I'd asked my parents, bless them, to order me a copy, which they did, and my mum also ordered herself a copy, and so it was nice to be able to read it at the same time as my mum, and it was very useful for my mum to kind of understand somebody's journey with ME too. And so that gave me a lot of ideas in terms of the difference that diet could make. And like, I'd heard before from various different ME groups about like the vegan diet being very useful. And I have a friend who has ME and has been a vegan for many years, and she was quite quick to dismiss, like, oh yeah, being a bit like that makes no difference. So I guess that I had already had ideas in my head about how useful food may or may not be. But then when I started to think about it in terms of, like, improving gut health, and I thought, well, I think if I try it and it makes no difference, at least I can tick it off my list and say I did it. I was willing to try anything, if I'm honest. Like, somebody could have asked me to do something really disgusting and I would have tried it to get better. I was very motivated to get my life back. Even willing to give up cheese. Cheese. But having said that, now that I have changed my my eating, I'm really enjoying the food that I'm eating. It's not boring. I don't feel like I'm missing anything, and my body 100% feels healthier. And I don't feel weak or any of the things that, I don't know, that maybe that wrongly people assume that vegans might feel. They might feel a bit weak and tired, but like, I feel better than I have done for years.
Yeah, that's really great. Yeah, obviously I had a similar experience, and it does feel weird at first. It's kind of completely rethinking the way you're eating in a way, because you're used to basing it around meat, and I think it's anxiety provoking because it's throwing out ideas that we've held on to, or beliefs, for many years. And it just, not saying it's going to be for everyone necessarily, but like for me, the same. I just knew, like, I started feeling better almost immediately. And looking better and having more energy and responding better to exercise. And my gut was working so much better and just less bloating, and my
Yeah.
skin was better, and I was
Yeah.
sleeping better,
Yeah.
and it wasn't boring. I thought it was going to be like you said, like I'm willing to try anything, like even
Yeah.
vegan. But it didn't feel at all, even from the
Uh,
first week. And my husband did it with me, and he is a big meat eater. And we both still eat about 95% plant-based, and we
yeah.
both just love it. We don't feel like we're missing anything. So,
No.
yeah, I think it's at least, like you said, worth giving it a try.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah.
you'll probably know fairly quickly if it's for you or if it's not.
I think probiotics as well, like massive advocate of probiotics. I think whether you have ME or whether you're perfectly healthy, your health can be improved by kind of a bit of focus on your gut biome. It's not very sexy to talk about, is it? But yeah, I think it really does have such a positive impact on your health.
Do you
And
take yours in
then
supplement form or from
no,
food
I eat
or
them.
both?
I eat them. Kefir I make at home now, just with grains and soy milk, and yeah, sauerkraut, and I love it. And, yeah, it goes with so much as well. At first I was like, what am I even going to eat this with? But now I'm just like, it goes with everything.
Yeah. Okay. So the lion's mane, hugely helpful with your brain function.
Mm,
Changing to a plant-based diet also did wonders for you. And the
mm.
probiotics, I've seen just from your Instagram and from our chats that exercise has been a part of your journey, but I'm not sure where that came in or how that started.
I guess it was probably about 3 or 4 weeks after I'd been eating a plant-based whole foods diet. So I had cut sugar, eggs, dairy, meat, gluten out of my diet, and my levels of energy just started to change. I just felt like I could do more. So while I was doing things like making my breakfast, or like I started to make sauerkraut, and so whilst I was just kind of doing things in the kitchen, I would put a Beyonce playlist on, and then so I would just like start kind of having a dance while I'm kind of chopping and stuff, and then I was like, wow, like I can actually, like, I can keep going, and then I was like, wow, like what I'm doing is exercise. This counts as exercise. And then I thought, well, let's start off really easy. And I found on YouTube like a beginner's aerobics. I think it was probably designed with quite elderly people in mind. It was very, very gentle, and I did that, and it was easy for me. Like, it didn't feel like it was a challenge. Like, I'm always very eager to like race ahead and do as much as I can. But I was like, you have got to start small, Katy. So I made myself do that for a week. And then, but afterwards, I would have a bit of a dance to Beyonce again. So I was kind of getting some exercise, but without kind of overdoing it. So Beyonce has played a big part in my recovery. She doesn't know this, but she's been pivotal. And then I found another beginners. It's like a low impact HIIT workout, which was more challenging. It was 30 minutes. I watched it through before doing it, and then thought, well, I'll have a go. And I started off kind of doing the least impact modifications, and then after a couple of weeks I was kind of going at it full pelt, and I could feel my fitness growing. But it, like, even walking, like, I felt like I was pushing against something all the time. Like, it didn't feel like it was my energy. I guess it was adrenaline. I was just using adrenaline constantly. Whereas while I was working out, I felt like I was using my energy and I was building my energy. The other thing as well that I'd been doing since Christmas was celery juice. Celery juice was really helping. So yeah, I think it started to kind of cleanse my body, and yeah, it just gave me energy and power.
You are the first person to mention Beyonce as a part of their healing program.
Oh, I hope this news makes it to Beyonce. Thank you, Beyonce.
Probiotics and Beyonce.
If I write a book, that's what it'll be called.
Oh, I really hope you do. I'll be first to read it. Well, all of this has been working really well, obviously, and I've seen you and felt just by chatting with you a lot and watching you on Instagram. So now, you're very active and, still not 100% there, but just doing really well. So what are some of the challenges? I know we've talked about this before, but I'd like to talk about it here, that you find being at this place of kind of 3/4 recovered?
So generally, I am in such a grateful place because I have been so fortunate, and lockdown has helped enormously with my recovery as well. I can't imagine that I would be as kind of as ahead of myself without lockdown, because I think being able to rest and literally only focus on myself, that has helped enormously. But since I've been able to go hiking, and I'm walking through the trees and the lights coming through the leaves, and it's just beautiful, and I'm walking uphill and I can feel my legs are getting stronger again, and I have so much gratitude. And then last week, where I had a bit of a hiccup, I had a my worst crash in quite a long time, and was unable to kind of stand up for more than 15 minutes. Otherwise I would just start to get that kind of migraine head, so I just needed to be in bed. And that was tough, but it was just a very sad reminder that I've climbed an enormous way, but there's still a way to go. So yeah, mentally, that resilience is important, because it's very, very tough. And as I said, my recovery has been relatively fast, but it hasn't been painless. So it's it's like climbing a mountain, and you have to stop and turn around and look at how far you have come. You have to keep doing that in order to be able to look up and keep going, because it's not that much further. But you've come such a long way. So yeah, I think that a little bit of mindfulness and living in the now, not living in the future.
And I don't know about you, but sometimes I would imagine in my head, like I think, okay, the trajectory I'm on, like by Christmas, I think I'll be completely fine. And then Christmas comes and you're not, and it can feel like a failure. Or sometimes I'll think I'm further ahead in my recovery. I might think I'm at like 90% and then, have a crash like you just described. And I realize I'm not actually quite that far. So like I said to you before, it's kind of like this carrot dangling in front of you. And I felt like someone just kept moving it. Like I was almost there, but it just kept getting moved farther and farther away. So I really like your mountain analogy, and I'm going to definitely remember that, because it is easy. I think that is a frustration in forgetting how far you've come. And when I felt like I was so close to the finish line, to keep getting like slamming into a wall and being reminded that I wasn't there and I was still sick, like it just, I don't know. And then the guilt that comes with it, like I should be nothing but grateful. Look what I can do. I would have killed for this months ago or years ago. And so many people on this planet would give anything to have my level of health right now. I should have nothing but gratitude, but I'm just so sick of being sick. Like, when is this going to end?
Yeah, I think so. One of the things that I did have, so I didn't mention this, but I did have long-term sickness, cognitive behavioral therapy, which did help. I didn't think that it helped kind of during the sessions, because I just would come away crashing after every session, and also kind of thinking like I really don't think that this is helping me at all. Like I just don't think they understand ME. And afterwards I realized that it really did help me to, like, obviously it didn't make any difference physically, but it did help in terms of the mental resilience and looking at what I could control and what I couldn't. And I think that that's the thing that I can look at after a crash. So I almost do a bit of a risk assessment afterwards, so that for the future that I can overcome things. So the crash that I had was caused by, we had a bit of a heat wave in the UK, and the air pressure was awful. So I was feeling really sickly, and it kept in causing migraines, and I wasn't sleeping because it was so hot at night time. So migraines and not enough sleep, and then I started having some counselling, and that put that all together, and even somebody who is doing quite well with their recovery, everybody's got their limits, and I kind of think, right, well, what can I control out of that? Yeah, just finding solutions to those problems, so that if it comes up again, that I can handle it differently. So I think having a bit of a, like, even if you're making it yourself, like a bit of a recovery notebook is good, as to like, what are the things that help you to recover best.
Yeah, I think that's important. And it's sort of the way I look at it, like pain is information. So every single time I'm suffering or I crash or something happens, I do a sort of postmortem. And it took me a while to figure out how to do it in a non-judgmental way, like not beating myself up, like, oh, I shouldn't have done so much, or this or that or that. But no, just like a detective, like, let's just step back and be like, what happened? Like you said.
Having it written down, it stops that kind of spiraling when you're like, oh, but what if? And some things we can control and some things we can't control, but it is important to divide them up and accept the things that we can't control, because there are many, but there are lots of things that we can have some impact on too.
So if you were to just summarize all the things that have helped you get to where you are now, how would you do that? What would you say?
Calming the parasympathetic nervous system down. So where we stay in that fight flight situation, I think calming that down. So I did that through meditation and humming. So I did lots of research on the vagus nerve. So by humming, it sends that message from your brain to the rest of your body to tell your body that everything is okay. So get your body into a healing state to start off with, and journal. So be writing down what's helping, what's not helping. Probiotics, 100%. I think maybe for some people going vegan is really helpful for some people, but I have probiotics. Doesn't matter if you don't like them, you'll get used to them, and the difference that they'll make to your life will make you like them.
All right, so getting yourself in the right mental state, calming that stress response, diet, probiotics, Beyonce, exercise when you're ready, and also cognitive behavioral therapy.
Yeah, I think that's it. Just listen to yourself. Become obsessed with your recovery. Like, I literally have become a project manager for my own recovery, and it's my greatest hobby. And I am hugely proud of my recovery. It's the best thing I've done in my life. Because it's been affecting me, even though I didn't know it. It has been affecting me since I was 15, and so once I have recovered, I am going to be so much, like, I already think I'm more resilient than I was before I got ill. So once I have fully recovered, I'll be unstoppable. And there are we learn so many lessons that we don't think we're going to learn, but they're useful along the way.
So that is a great segue, I think, into just a great place to finish up would be, what all have you taken away from this? What have you learned from this?
Being kind to myself. I started off by saying that because I would get run down more quickly than one of my friends, like my peers, basically, but I'd get more run down than other people. that I just kind of called myself weak, or I'm not trying hard enough. So I've spent my whole adult life calling myself names, and you know, that's really changed. I couldn't be prouder of myself. That for me is so huge, and I think I've been a people pleaser. This has forced me to kind of change directions and focus in on myself and my self-worth, my confidence. So the fact that I am happy to appropriately, I would never be rude, but to challenge doctors, to, and actually, like, now I've really found my voice in general. I think I'm less afraid of saying what I think needs to be said. I think in terms of pace and just, like, you know, I'm an enthusiastic person as well, and it's very easy for me to get carried away. And I've recently applied for a job, and if I get that, then there comes a whole new set of challenges of what will it be like to get up on time for work, because my sleep is still, it's not perfect at the moment. So I might get a good night's sleep, but it takes me ages to get to sleep. So things like having a working pattern. How am I going to do my laundry? How am I going to cook? How will I cope during the day? But actually, it's excitement. I mean, I can't even express how unbelievable it feels to me that I'm in a place where now that I have acknowledged how ill, I was and am to a degree, that now I'm coming out on the other side, and I'll have the opportunity to be back, having colleagues, having conversations every day, because there are lots of days where I don't speak out loud to people. So the idea that I'd get paid for doing that is amazing. I'm so excited about it. But again, it's like, you need to live in the now. You need to keep protecting your health now, because you don't know what's in the future yet. Just take it one step at a time. So yeah, my enthusiasm and passion for wellness, like, that's still, I have to have a rein on that. Yeah, I feel braver, more confident, more self-assured.
What more could you want?
No, I know, that's it.
Well, I truly, sincerely am so proud of you and so inspired by you. I'm so glad that we've met and become friends. We've never actually even met in person, but we've talked so much over the months. And just seeing the dedication that you've put into your recovery and the focus that you've had, it's just been really, really impressive and really inspiring. And then you're such an amazing, wonderful, beautiful, kind person. And to see all of your efforts paying off, and for you to be making this progress and finding your way out of this, and now embarking on an exciting new chapter in your life, I couldn't be happier for you. So thank you for taking the time to share this today.
Thank you so much. I'm really honoured to be taking part in this. But thank you. It's really lovely of you to say that, and I do feel proud of myself. But it's lovely to hear it from somebody else. So thank you.
So if other people want to be inspired by you and motivated by your amazing life, where can they find you?
On Instagram, so I am Katy Getting Well on Instagram. I always think it sounds like Katy Getting Well, like it's my surname, but it's Katy Getting Well, but all one word. Maybe that could be my pseudonym for my book, Probiotics and Beyonce by Katy Getting Well. Sorry. Yes, I'm on Instagram, and I'm very happy for anybody to contact me and ask me questions about my recovery. And our recovery is all different, but if I can help you along your way, I'd be delighted to do so. So yeah, and just the support either. Yeah, if you just need to talk to somebody that gets it, I'll get it, and I'll be happy to support you. So yeah, feel free to get in touch.
Wonderful. Thank you for that. I'm sure people will appreciate that. And of course, people can always reach out to me as well. I'm Raelan.Agle on Instagram and Raelan Agle on Facebook. And also on Facebook, I've started a Facebook group for people who are looking for a little bit extra support and connection and motivation and inspiration and information for their ME/CFS recovery journey. So I'll put a link to Katy's contact information for Instagram, mine as well, and everything for the Facebook support group, should you be interested in checking that out. And of course, if you want to leave comments, we'd love to hear what you think just right here on the video. We can keep this conversation going. So if you have questions for Katy or myself, we'd be happy to answer them. And we'd love to hear a bit about your experience and what you're going through. And if any of this resonates, or if you have your own suggestions on any of these things, it's always appreciated. And I will definitely appreciate if you enjoyed this video, if you could just hit the like button. And if you think someone else might also enjoy this video and learn something from it or appreciate it, you could share it. Share it on social media, Facebook, Instagram, or wherever it is socially you hang out. And if you haven't already subscribed, I have new videos out like this on all different sorts of topics every week for chronic fatigue syndrome and ME recovery. So why don't you subscribe? So that's it. Thank you again, Katy. Thank you to everyone who is watching. We wish you all the best with whatever it is you're facing. Keep going, keep working. You'll get there. You've got this. And yeah, that's it for today. Bye, everyone.
Bye. Was that okay? I was just like, blah, blah, blah.